Hey everybody, welcome to the Get Up and Scale podcast with Kai and Justin Buzzi. Also, Brett's here. Today we're going to talk about annual reviews, reviewing your business, the key metrics, kind of focusing on the fundamentals. We talked about email marketing campaigns and how to effectively use your customer list. That kind of tied into building customer loyalty, and then eventually how to do customer retention. How do you hold on to the customers you already have, and how do you build more lifetime value out of them? Looking forward to the podcast. Now let's go.
I gotta work, grind. That's just the way it is. I gotta get up, scale, and grow my biz. I gotta scale, grow, get up, go, scale, grow, get up, go.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Get Up and Scale podcast. We're here with Kaapro and Justin Buzzi. We were just talking annual reviews and the forecast for this year and got into an interesting conversation. Kai, I feel like you've been in a lot of annual reviews the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, it sounds like Justin has as well. You know, it's the beginning of the year, and I think it's a good habit to review it. It's something we're doing more and more. It was actually kind of inspired by Justin. Typically in our franchise, we, as a part of the onboarding process, we do a 3-month review, and we had these like metrics set up and said, hey, you know, how's it going? You just launched, you're into your first few months of the season when you need to have a formal check-in period to see how the launch of the business is going. And then we were like, well, we should do this regularly, right? Like we should regularly try to check in with our other locations, both our corporate stores, the one we own, and with franchisees, and have a review process. So we actually just implemented it this year, and it's going really good. It can be kind of a painful process. Like I feel like you have to go through an effort to make it look like you're not like trying to dive in and make it like a going to the dentist sort of thing. You know, it's like, how do you make it a productive conversation without making people defensive, right? We just did a review of our top performing corporate store, for instance, to kind of start to get in the habit of doing this. And I think we found like 17 different areas we could improve. And this was our top performing location. So now whenever we start this process with a new franchisee, I say, look, the whole purpose of this is to find things that we can improve on. And like, that's exciting. If there's room for growth, then we want to tackle that. And so I try to frame it in that direction.
Yeah, it's smart. There's so many little things that you find when you spend the extra time doing a little bit of a deep dive, you know, into everyone's business. And I find that it's helpful just as the franchisor to get a better understanding of like what is actually happening currently in everyone's business and letting them talk about it, you know, and them on their perspective too. It's nice because they have to really know their business and come to that meeting with the knowledge of, you know, where they stand year over year, month over month, what's working, what's not working. And it just kind of puts everyone, I think, on the same page starting out a new year. Gives everyone a good perspective on what needs to be done. For me, it gives me a good idea on across the board, like what are we missing out on the most across the board, or what are we doing really well across the board. And then I can potentially link one up with another one. If one's doing something really well and the other one's not doing it really well, like how do we get them to learn from each other and start, you know, communicating between each other about those things. And so I find that there's like a lot of useful things in doing these kind of annual reviews. And whether it's a franchise or just your own business, like it's really good to start the year out by digging into what happened the last 12 months, you know, the whole last year. Like what months were your strongest, which ones were your weakest, are there any opportunities, you know, in either of those ends of the spectrum? Like when you're really busy, could you raise your prices? Could you add more availabilities? Could you, what could you do to take more advantage of those busy times? And then on the flip side, if your business is seasonal, like how do you make that seasonality less hurtful when it's slow? You know, how do you make that pain go away a little bit? And just figuring that out across the board, I think is pretty interesting. And you know, for businesses like ours, we can kind of compare apples to apples because it's a franchise and because people are on the same systems, and yeah, they're in different locations, but at the end of the day, a lot of the back end stuff is very similar. So you're able to make these pretty cool comparisons across locations, which I think as a franchisor comes, pretty useful.
Justin, what do you see as when you're looking at these reviews? Do you see any commonalities between them in terms of what they can be doing better? Like, what do you think are the most common like shortcomings and gaps that people have in their operations?
Yeah, I think the biggest one that I learned this year from everyone was just the amount of time and effort that we have not spent in Google Ads and just in the paid ads side of things. It's one of those things that, gets set up and gets looked at when you first start your business, start your location. And then after a few months, you think it's running well and you just kind of forget about it. And it's just happening in the background as part of your business. And I found that most of our locations had no idea like what their current ROI is, like what their current, how much they're actually spending every month. And then on top of that, like, how does Google Ads actually work? Like the way that we set it up, like how is that going out to people that are searching for what we've got it set up to search for? And I think just in general, like spending the extra amount of time when it's busy season to turn down your ads a little bit, or when it's slower season to turn up your ads a little bit, and looking at it from a more granular view instead of just once a year looking at, oh, how did you do on Google Ads, last year? And so we found a lot of interesting things within our ad accounts that were simple changes that I think should make a huge amount of extra revenue and just impact for the business next year. And so I think that was probably the biggest takeaway. Another big one is just inventory management and finding the opportunities in your numbers from last year. For example, that the time change is coming up soon and you get an extra hour plus out of every day now. And can you build out your calendar, your availability to actually leverage that to where that might mean 2 extra tours in a day because of how you restructure your entire day? Those little, I think, kind of opportunities that come up and that we find in that is the special sauce of doing those meetings and just being able to see those numbers on a broad scale for us, but for them to be able to see what the impactful things are in their business and where they should be spending the most amount of time, I think is the most helpful spot of it. Did you find that your answer to that question is similar? Did you guys have some different opportunities? What did you guys see?
Yeah, I think it's a little different. It's like you said, though, the biggest problem I think a lot of people have is going on autopilot. Once you get out of the startup phase and you actually start your business, it's really easy to just be fighting fires all the time. It's like, oh my gosh, this happened over here. Like, I got to fire this person, I got to hire, I need a new storage lease, right? So like you said, you set up your initial system, your listings, your ad accounts. A lot of times there's a lot of enthusiasm and energy when you first start your business, and then you put all the fundamentals on autopilot and you go into fighting fires, right? And what we find is when you check in, especially after it's been a year or two, it's the fundamentals that end up being lacking. It's like the little things, like, are my listings consistent? Am I consistently posting on all platforms? Like, not just like what we're talking about with social, but am I doing Google My Business posts with updates and specials? When I run a new campaign, am I making a landing page every single time and also having that collateral go to social? I think that's the big problem, is complacency. And this happens, I think, more often for really successful locations even than smaller ones, right? Like once you really start making revenue in a market, you feel like you've made it. And you might feel like all I have to do is just keep doing what I'm doing, but you end up letting the little things go, Yeah. And they're the ones a lot of times that need a reminder, is that keeping the fundamentals strong is going to make your business so much more successful, even after you've had that first wave of success. Because there's that risk when you're growing a tour business, is you're going to kind of grow here and then you're going to kind of flatline and you get complacent, right? that's really when you need to push to have that breakthrough moment when you can really maximize the potential and the demand in your market.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, like, to ask franchisees like what they predict revenue wise for the year, like what they predict their expenses to be for the year. I think it helps remove that barrier of complacency. You know, it puts a little bit of pressure back on them to really have a plan and to really know what their full year looks like ahead, and how do they capitalize on the good times, and how do they make those slower times better. And so just in general, like, giving them that space and opportunity to have to come to the meeting with those numbers and the plan for the year, and all of that has been super helpful. And especially as you see it next year, now that you've done 1 year of it, being able to compare kind of responses year over year is pretty interesting. So for me, whenever we do these, we send out like a Google form that each location will fill out prior to the meeting. And year over year, I can look back at that form and kind of see, okay, what were our biggest issues? Is like one of our big thing, like why did we lose money this year? Where did we lose the most money this year on cancellations, for example? And looking at that year over year to see if we're actually making some sort of impact on that. And, if it keeps coming up 2-3 years and we're not changing anything, it's like, well, shoot, that's our problem at that point. But if we can identify some areas where you need help in your business and then be able to deliver that help throughout the year, I think as franchisors is where we become very valuable as we see those issues across all the locations. And one of them for me was like, shoot, we had like $1.5 million worth of refunds last year. And how do I decrease that number, right? And that alone would change a lot within our business. A lot of that is due to weather and wind and storms, and that's just the nature of the beast here in Florida in the afternoons in the summertime, right? We lose out on a lot from those storms. But also just in general, like, we've lost so much money just from wind being a thing. And so how do we maybe change our routes a little bit, or change our tour times to less windier times of the day, or
what's your refund policy? I'm curious. Do you guys track like refunds as a percentage of revenue as a metric?
Yeah, and just we look at
like what's y'all's target? Because ours is to keep it under 5%.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great, but we try to keep it under 10. But realistically, we're closer to over 20%. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
That's last year. Our revenue was right over $6 million, and cancellations were 1.5. So that's over 20% of revenue is being canceled.
So what's the policy? So you allow customers to cancel?
So we have a couple different policies. One is just the standard cancellation policy, which we've since adjusted. But last year, it pretty much was the customer has up until 48 hours prior to the tour time to cancel for any reason. We don't need proof, whatever.
And that's a full refund?
Full refund, yeah.
You're generous guy over here.
So
you don't want to hear what our policies are.
So, well, I've found that like that's very generous, and and that translates to how much money we refunded last year, right? So now a lot of our locations are all sales final unless you purchase trip protection, which allows you to cancel up until either 12 or 24 hours prior to the tour time. But you don't get that trip protection revenue back, right? So,
correct.
So they're getting a refund, but it's only like 90% of their entire booking price, and we keep the 10% of that. So at least on cancellations now, we're keeping some of the revenue, and having that all sales final thing is nice. But what happens is a lot of our cancellations just happen the day of, because of bad weather, and if we initiate that cancellation because we can't go out, we give them a full refund, right? So that's where a lot of the issue comes from. But to your point, last year a lot of people did cancel prior to that 48 hours for whatever reason, and we I noticed that like that's a shit ton of cancellations that like we need to cut down on, you know.
Yeah, I think your business is probably even more weather dependent than ours, you know, because like a COI boat or whatever, we can go out in a lot of conditions. We go out in the rain and the wind. It's pretty much the only time we cancel on our end is if the Coast Guard makes us, right? If it's over our limits for the waves and conditions. But on a kayak, yeah, you guys are probably more sensitive. That's a bigger issue for what y'all are doing, especially when looking at nature is a big part of the experience. I'd imagine it's difficult to do like in the rain or the wind.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much when the winds get to 17 miles an hour, you can't really paddle in a kayak, right? And there's just white caps after that point, and paddling in a kayak while it's white capping does not sound too fun, but to your point, it could be fun if you're going with the white caps, right? But if you're going into them, it's not as fun. But to your point, like you guys have that benefit because you have a boat, a full vessel that can cut through the wind and cut through the waves, and
we have a roof.
Our engines are the people paddling the kayaks, and that can be difficult for first timers. So
and our big draw is drinking, which you can do in the rain or not.
Yeah.
For y'all, the seeing the sights is a big part of it, and when the conditions aren't very visible, it's probably harder.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that, but that's true.
I've been on my fair share of kayaks and paddleboards where it's windy, and getting back is a hell of a lot harder than getting there. So Justin, what's the policy when it comes to these refunds? Do you guys just cancel them online and issue it, or are you reaching out? I'm just curious from a customer service perspective.
Yeah, so it's a good question. Typically the way that process should go is that we will reach out via phone call and say, hey, you know, we've got this weather happening. Could we rebook you to a different day as step one?
Right.
Step two, if no, can we give you a gift card to come out to just a future tour to make sure that we're kind of keeping that money, you know, in the bank. And if no to both of those questions, then step three is offering that full refund.
Right.
Yeah. And do you offer those gift cards to your whole network of locations, or is it normally just that specific store? Because we've been playing around with both options lately.
Yeah, for that scenario, that's just going to be that specific location.
Okay.
But we did in December actually introduce a company-wide gift card. It was kind of a struggle because our booking software does not communicate across different dashboards.
Right.
So we had to just kind of make our own little workaround for that. But I think in general, that is going to help the conversion on gift cards by so much, you know?
Yeah. We went through the same process as you, struggling with that. And we noticed opening up gift cards, you know, for us, it's across the country now, which is really nice. Is it takes away that whole thing of we're just visiting town from New York. So when are we going to do this again? We're like, well, we're actually in 4 locations in New York. And that makes it a lot easier. Because the way we do it now is actually we're a lot stricter. As we say, all sales are final regardless of weather. So if we have to cancel, if you don't buy trip assurance, you're gambling, as the customer, you're gambling that the weather's going to be okay.
Interesting.
Because part of what trip assurance covers for us is the chances that we might have to cancel on our end for weather. And so we used to have, I mean, we had franchisees with refund rates as high as 20%, and we implemented trip assurance. And the biggest one we had, which I don't want to mention for confidentiality reasons, but I know they had, you know, probably well over 50 grand of refunds. And last year they got it down to below 10,000.
Wow.
With our new policies. And a lot of people are really afraid to do it. Like they feel like a lot of people are going to be mad at them. But since we opened up the company-wide gift cards, I feel like that's really smooth over that, is offering that as an alternative and setting up like an exchange for your franchisees has been really helpful in getting those refund rates down. And I think now system-wide, Brett, I think we're right about 7.3% right now. And
that's exactly correct.
That's right? It's
that's exactly correct.
From our dashboard. We see these metrics like daily. We can log in the dashboard and see them. But this year I'm going for sub 5.
Yeah. So even if you guys do cancel for weather the day of, and the cancellation is initiated by you guys, the customer doesn't get a refund unless they purchased the trip protection. Yeah,
and that's one of the big selling points we tell people over the phone for trip protection is, hey, part of what you're buying is protection from inclement weather. You know, and we don't, you know, if there's a big storm, you purchase the trip assurance and you can make sure that you're going to get a credit for a future tour.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because I mean, technically, our policy says if we cancel on our side, if they don't have trip assurance, they get nothing, not even a credit.
Yeah. That's really interesting and something I need to consider, because I saw one location with $300,000 worth of refunds last year, and that hurts. It's like
Breaks your heart.
It's crazy. Yeah, I feel really bad for them and for me, but like, it's just, and for the customer too. Like, that's a lot of people that didn't get to come do the amazing experience, right? So, it's tough. It's an interesting.
To your point,
dilemma.
though, I think in Florida Florida has the highest cancellation rates we see, and it's because of the crazy weather there.
Yeah. Justin, I'm curious. I know it's only been a month or two, but we found that when we offer that gift card or credit to our whole network of stores, it actually they don't use it right away. In fact, the usage rates are pretty low. It's only been a month or two, but have you seen customers, I know you rigged up a system to track it, take you up on that, or are those credits probably just still sitting there and you're going to see how that goes this year?
Yeah, no one has really used them too much, right? Like, these were all, most of them have been purchased over the holidays and gifted. And, that's going to be something that people will, I think, use throughout the first year, maybe the second year. Just in general, like our previous take rate before we did a company-wide one, like the amount of people that redeemed them was somewhere between like 15 and 18%. So I don't think it's going to be, I don't think a lot of people are going to redeem it. That's just the gift card game, right? But I actually want people to, because it helps with reviews. It helps with keeping locations busy. It helps with keeping tour guides employed. It helps with so many things, right? And for us, word of mouth is like our second biggest how did you hear about us thing. And so if we can continue to get people coming out and doing the experience so that they can then go and talk about it to other people, that's where a lot of value is. So like, it's interesting because like in gift cards, you almost don't want people to redeem, so you don't even have to give the service. But we actually are setting up like email campaigns to people that purchased gift cards to come and do the experiences, because we want them to come out, get the word of mouth, and want them to go book one of our other locations because of it.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. So you're selling these as the franchisor. So you're taking the revenue from that, and when they're redeemed, you give them to the franchisees.
Correct.
That's the strategy.
Yep.
I kind of like that. That's a good idea.
Yep.
If we think about all the email addresses we have system wide, Brett, and then what email marketing software do you use?
So we use Flowdesk. It's FLODESK, and it's great.
Not a sponsor.
Hashtag not sponsored.
You could be, though, if you reach out to it.
But I'm open to it.
If the money's there, we don't care. No, we do.
That's right. We use Flowdesk. The good thing about it is that it's just a flat monthly rate. The one thing,
it's not based on the number of...
Not based on subscribers. That is like the one thing I hate about freaking MailChimp and like these other providers is that...
All right. I'm writing this down, baby.
You're not incentivized to get more subscribers, right? Like you almost don't want more people to subscribe to your list, because that means you have to pay more for it, which sucks. So I love Flowdesk because you don't get penalized for adding more subscribers, right? And so we have...
so is it based on users? Like, what's the pricing?
No, they just have flat pricing.
Email
like,
sent. It's
not even
based on email sent, right?
No, it's just... I can send as many as I want, and it's literally just a flat monthly rate. Yeah, Brett, pull it up in another screen. Flowdesk.
Damn, you're about to make us
billing.
go crazy right now.
I know, it saves
more.
I think it's a pretty good saving, because you don't have to worry about the send expense. You don't have to worry about the subscriber expense.
Yeah.
And it's just very user friendly. It's pretty easy. So it's just FLODESK. Yeah.
No way. $35 a month?
$35 a month.
No, get out of here.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And you can create these different workflows too, which is really nice. So whenever we get a new subscriber, right, they're instantly put into a workflow where they get a series of 7 or 8 different emails.
Yeah, they get in a drip campaign.
Yeah, in a drip campaign over the course
Dude,
of
shut
a
up.
couple
For
months.
$35 a month, and you can add as many users as you want.
I don't know about users. I just have people log into our one account.
Wow.
Really?
If you look at this, they have a slider on their website to show you the price go up for
I
everybody
love
else.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and theirs just
That's
stays the
awesome.
same.
Yeah. No, that
Nice,
from a
man.
technical standpoint, like sending emails, having subscriber lists, that's not a huge cost, and these guys are just owning it, and I love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, our list is 110,000 people, and
Yeah.
doing that on MailChimp would cost me so much money every month just having the list. Never mind even
You want to know.
utilizing
Yeah,
it.
we have hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah,
You know, and so
it's crazy.
we used to do MailChimp, but we just moved over to Zoho because it's the software suite that we're doing on other services. But I'd be curious, Brett, given that low price point, to kind of compare it to what we're doing and see how well it could integrate. But
Yeah,
that's cool.
the Nerd of Me is coming out, Justin. So do you just put all the emails in like one list and then segment out by location? So you guys, so you guys control the emails, like most of the automations and everything. Now,
Correct.
if a franchise wants to send a blast to their market, do they just send that to you and you guys format it and send it out, or do they have a login?
Yeah, so this is something that I've brought up a few times, is that we don't use that much. Like, it's only been a couple of times where a franchisee has said, can you email my list, and here's what I want in the email, and we do it for them. But I want them to do that more, because I would love to send out more emails. However, because we just hired on the community manager a couple months ago, part of her process is to send out 2 e-blasts a week, just to the entire list. So I'm hoping that helps in general, but I would love for the franchisees to either create their own flow desk, the $38 a month, and just have their own email service that they just do it themselves, right? And have me sign off on approval before they send out a blast, just so I'm good with it. Or if they want to send me what they want to send to their list, and kind of like send me the photos, send me the text that they want, whatever, we have no problem just easily recreating that in Flowdesk. It's very user friendly and easy to use. So I want to use email more.
Yeah, so we've always been relatively active on email marketing, since the early days, because when we started back in 2011, email marketing was huge, much bigger than it is today.
I bet.
Like, MailChimp was still a new company back then.
Have you heard of MailChimp?
Yeah. They
it's like Flowdesk.
Yeah.
We
were talking about it like we're talking about Flowdesk.
But and so like email marketing used to be like always like the top 3. I mean, it was almost bigger than AdWords in the early 2010s. I feel like it kind of waned, and it's like on the upswing again for whatever reason.
I agree.
Like,
our open rates are pretty good. Like,
but
several percent.
We're kind of going the opposite direction, where we're talking about like, how do we create a national database and get everyone's lists together in the same place? Now we can imagine if you think the customers, when you're in multiple states, you're like, people are going to go to New York who live in Florida, for instance, and do the tour. Yep. What if the Florida franchisees could email those people, right? If we had just one large CRM where we can send out emails based on location, based on attributes, based on propensity, and it's literally like from everybody's lists. That's cool. What we've been thinking a lot, is just try to build out a list where the franchisees can use each other's new contacts, and we get everyone's information through the waivers, as I'm sure you do, right? And now you can cross market, and the franchisees can market to customers that are going to other locations based on where they live.
Yeah, I think there's a little hack in there too that you mentioned, getting information from waivers, right? Instead of just using the main booker's information on your booking software, and this goes for any industry too. Like, if you can capture not only like the lead person that booked the experience or bought the product or whatever it may be, but if you can capture the rest of the people going with that person and capture their info and use that info, to try and get them back out, there's a huge opportunity there. So those of you that are not pulling all of the users from your waivers are missing out if you're only pulling the users from the booking software,
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, think about the difference. I mean, for us, it's massive. There might be 20 people, 25 people
One
on the
person
boat, but only
books.
one person booked. Like, imagine if we're only getting the contact information from the booker.
Yeah.
That leads into another topic, is something we're trying to get into, but we've only experimented, is text marketing. I'm curious, is that something you guys are doing right now?
Yeah, we just started text marketing in December also, and it's part of kind of like, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna hire a community manager, and
Right.
I'm gonna have this person kind of oversee email blasts, oversee text messages, oversee a Facebook community, oversee a lot of these different things that we spend a little bit of time on each of those here and there, but like I want someone that's just dedicated on doing that. So we use a text platform called Community, and it's one that like Obama uses, Gary Vee uses, like football teams use, a lot of different sports teams. They all use this platform. It's called Community. It's a little expensive if you want a dedicated account rep. It's $1,000 a month, plus you have to spend for every text that goes out. It's a cent per text.
Right.
So that doesn't sound bad, the cent per text, but like $1,000 a month is kind of pricey.
Right.
And if you have, like we do, like a 50,000 person text list, that penny per text adds up pretty quickly. If you're
Yeah,
sending
I
out
believe
longer
that.
text messages, they do it based on segments. So if you send out a little bit of a longer text message, it may not be just one segment. It may be 2, 3, 4 segments long. And so now that's 2, 3, 4 cents per text times
Damn.
50,000. It can add up pretty quickly, right? And when they reply, if someone replies, you can reply back to them. So there's like 2 more cents that happen there. So there's a lot of extra little pennies that do add up over time. But it has some really cool functionality for me. I can break it out by location. I can send a blast to everyone and say, what do you guys like more, dolphins or manatees? And if people reply dolphins, they all get put in one bucket. And if people reply manatees, they all get put in a different bucket. And then I can just text those buckets and say, hey, I saw you love dolphins. Here's a list of all of our locations where you can see dolphins on the water. So it has some pretty cool like functionality like that allows you to do these kind of little unique, fun things that like makes them feel involved without it feeling super sales pitch. But yeah, I really like it. We haven't really seen a whole lot of conversion yet. We did actually get a good amount of gift cards that sold through texting through the holidays, which I think is going to be a big use case for it. But I think the thing about texting, and often with email too, is that you're not going to get huge conversions from them. It's more of just like a reminder that like, hey, we're a business, we're here. If you have friends, family in town, like consider using us. And I think it's more of a brand play than a quick sales play. It depends on time of year and stuff too, but I really look at texting as kind of a brand expense, and I just want to keep people in the community more and feel less transactional and more relationship based,
I like it. Yeah, Brett, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. You just rolled out the marketing calendar for the year. And, kind of what are your thoughts on email? And you might want to talk about, too, the new abandoned booking bot we have. We're using texting to reach the franchisees and managers, too, to give them alerts on potential sales. So,
so
we
we
tell them about
are
that, Brett, because I think,
pretty
honestly,
cool.
the abandoned booking bot is one of the coolest things I think we've ever done.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, there are a few different booking softwares out there, and only a handful of them offer something called abandoned booking recovery, which is where they ask for the customer's information, phone number, email, name, normally before they give the customer something they're looking for, like times available, or in this case, the total price with fees. So these booking systems capture that data, and we found a way, rigged up a system to relay that information to the managers so they can act on that in real time.
That's cool.
We've had a lot of success with that. Someone getting like a personalized reach out, whether that manager calls them, texts them, or follows up with them later. And then also we're in the process of setting up different automations, utilizing that data to reach them. But Justin, I love what you're saying about segmenting. You segment your audience in your text messages, you segment your audience in your email, and I just want to encourage everyone to put in that work now, because years later, when you know that they went out for a birthday, or they, why they went out or when they went out is going to be extremely valuable. I mean, you might see trends that people are coming down from the north, the snowbirds, right? You'll start to identify those people as they come and become a repeat customer. So that's awesome.
Yeah, the customer data is like equity, right? It's like money in the bank. The more you have, like the more valuable your business is, and the easier it is for you to get sales in the future by tapping in to your existing customer base and also knowing who they are really well,
Yeah.
Yeah, I find
but
that
Justin's.
I was just going to say, I find that a lot of people are in our industry, and I'm sure in other industries, the customer comes, does the experience, buys the product, whatever it may be. Yep. They get the receipt, they leave, and then you never hear from them again. You never communicate to them again as the business owner. And those people, if they've already done your business or done your service, like, those are the people that are most likely to come do it again or tell their friend about it. And so to Kai's point, like, that alone is worth so much value. And if you can keep those people kind of in your ecosystem and keep them reminded and engaged about what it is that you're doing, like the amount of return on that simple little thing can be massive.
I just have this vision of like eventually having like a cross-country tour scale card that people punch out, like do a tiki pub in Fort Myers, do a trolley pub in Austin. Like, you think about all these fun like ways of keeping people engaged and interacting with the brand. Like your brand is like very focused on like experiencing nature and getting out and seeing these amazing sights, and us is a lot of it is like these social experiences. But I always think about like, how can we build like more interaction with people and kind of make it fun now that we have a larger scale? Can we play with that scale to get people more involved? Can we give them a challenge, like the cross country challenge, like do at least 3 locations and give them rewards? I don't know. I'm just trying to think. I've been trying to think about more ways we can engage people with that scale and make it fun for people and get them connected to us. You know what I mean?
Well, long term, I think it's with an app, but short term, we're really psyched about this abandoned booking bot. Just like you said, Justin, creating this, it's less transactional and creating, more of a direct line of communication when a potential customer receives that iMessage from the manager or the captain that would be taking them out. It like really does.
Connects them to whoever's in charge of bookings and like says, hey, I saw you were doing a booking. How could I help? And we're even having like protocols now. It's like, call them within 5 minutes of their abandoned booking cart, basically.
Or like, else.
Hey, I was spying on you. Yeah. Saw you started typing in some information. What do you plan?
6 minutes.
Well, and that's and that's the beauty of the franchise model, is we're enabling these, our franchisees, in giving them these leads, and they want to close them. They are the most motivated, the most incentivized, and the best salespeople for their business. And it's cool to see, and we're in the process of rolling that out. We had a booking system update. That's
really cool. Yeah, to Kai's point on the loyalty part of it, like we do have a loyalty program that I think is useful, and it's just one that like I've created internally, and there's no great way to.
I've thought about it. It's like, how do you do it?
Yeah, there's no great way to track it because of the different booking systems, other than
Anchor can do it, by the way.
Ooh.
They have a loyalty system on an enterprise level that you can do for all your accounts.
Cross-platform. That's nice.
Yeah, and they also have cross-platform gift cards. So Anchor, if you're listening, we're also open for sponsorships. We're just like $200,000 a year. You can,
that's it. That's all.
Anyways.
So right now it's very the customer has to do a little bit of the lifting for us in letting us know that they've been to 3 locations. We have different thresholds that when they hit 3, they get a free shirt. When they hit 6, they get free tour wherever they want. And then when they hit like 9 or 10, they get like half off of tours for an entire year. And so,
that's cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can do whatever you want with, whatever guidelines you want to do. But the hope is that our tour guides, and this kind of loops back into our sticker program that we have, where we give everyone a custom sticker of that location that they visited. And part of that is, hey, when you collect 3 of these stickers, let us know, and we'll give you a free T-shirt. So that's the cool part of it, is like, not only are we giving them something for free at the end of the tour, which I think then in turn helps the tour guide get tipped, because like if you get something, you're more likely to give something back for it. So it helps that conversation. It then also helps the loyalty conversation of, hey, this is for this location specifically, but if you go to all of our other locations, you can get their stickers, and as you collect more stickers, you get to unlock rewards, right? So
is the artwork different on every sticker?
Well, every location has its own. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Obviously that takes time and money and effort to build out stickers for each location, but we also have a poster that people can buy. It's a poster version of that sticker. So it's like another fun little upsell add-on that we can add to the follow-up email. Hey, if you want to buy a poster of that location, like we have the custom drawn up design that I've had this one guy create all of these designs for me, so they're all like cohesive and look the same and whatnot. And so, yeah, I just think like in general, even though our system can't talk across dashboards, like there's workarounds that could be a fun way to engage your customers a little bit more. And in doing that, like I now know, I think I've sent out, I don't know, 30-ish, it's like 31 shirts to people that have been to at least 3 of our locations. I know those 31 people by name. I sent them the email. Like I could tell you all of their names. Like I have a spreadsheet with all of their info on it.
Tell me right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you all of them in their email, their phone. No,
committed.
I'll give you whatever you want. So,
what color hair do they have?
Yeah, but
do you have a mole in a weird place?
But back to the having customers' information being valuable, right? Like totally. Those 31 people are so valuable to me because they've spent X amount of money with us at multiple locations. If we roll out something new, like I have the opportunity to just send them it first, and
your
like
super fans, right? Like bounce it off the super fans first.
Why not? And so I
like it.
If we ever sell merch or sell hats or something, like I'm going to send it to these 31 people and get their input before we send it out to everyone else. And even
you're making me get so many stickies right now.
Even doing that little part of it, I think creates them more of a super fan than they already are, keeping them engaged, totally. Asking them questions, and so on and so forth. And what's the sticky
right there?
Right over the camera. I love it. I love it. So yeah, I think that is very interesting, and a great way to leverage a little bit of loyalty for your customers.
What if you went all out? Like, what if you made like a pretty high tier, like said, hey, you have to go to like all 20 locations.
Yeah.
But if you do that, it's like Justin's going to come down and take you out to a steak dinner.
Dude, kid you not, I have an email saying that same thing, but I was going to like send people to one of the theme parks in Orlando and then meet them for dinner. But I literally have that in an email somewhere. So
what happens after dinner?
Well, that's up for them to determine,
It just hasn't been set yet. People don't know that's a thing.
So what I'm going to do after dinner is I'm going to and then I'm going to...
I'm glad, listeners, I'm so glad you didn't hear what he just said.
Yeah, it was rough. And on that note, everybody,
I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
We're coming up on time.
Yeah, on that note.
It's a great way to end it.
Yeah. I like it. I like that idea. I'm trying to think. I don't think anyone wants to go to dinner with me, though. But maybe Brett will take him out to dinner.
There we go.
We'll work on it. And Justin will bring a manatee with him.
Do 15 locations, and we'll give you a Lexus. And then I started doing the math and thought, that's probably a bad idea.
Do you have a friend named Alexis, or are you talking about the car?
Both.
What me?
He's driving. You know?
Not a sponsor,
There you go. But we could be.
but we're open to it, Lexus.
We're a pretty popular podcast at this point.
That's right. That's right.
Nice. Well, let's wrap it up. I think it was a good conversation, guys.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you never know where
Always
it's going
great
to go,
chatting.
right? And I feel like it took a good turn.
I'm feeling the love.
All right. Well, here's to more episodes to come. Good talking to you guys.
Boom.
I gotta work, grind. That's just the way it is. I gotta get up, scale, and grow my biz. I gotta scale.